Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope everybody's having a happy 4th of July. What's going on, YouTubers? I'm going to show you my Lafayette Escadrille shirt. And yes, Lafayette Escadrille was a fighter squadron in World War I composed of American volunteers. And they joined the war before the United States declared the war. Lafayette Escadrille was started by a number of people. One was William Thaw. Some people called him Bill, some people called him William, but he was flying air tours and air circuses in France. But when the war hit, he's from Pittsburgh originally, but when the war hit, he was in France, so he gave his plane to the French Air Force, and he talked with George Vanderbilt and several other very wealthy financiers into financing the Lafayette Escadrille, and William Thaw contributed a lot of his own money as well. Same with Norman Prince and a bunch of others. And they started this fighter squadron. And even during World War I, after the United States entered the war, all the planes that the American had were made in France. There were some people that were already in France when this happened, not just William Thaw, but there were others that had fought for the French Foreign Legion first as foreign volunteers fighting for France. And one was the very first African-American fighter pilot, Eugene Jacques Ballard, who was from Columbus, Georgia originally, but made his way to France. I've talked about him in previous videos, but then also Kiffin Yates Rockwell. He was wounded in the infantry in the French Foreign Legion, but when the Lafayette Escadrille was formed, he went into aviation. Now, most of the pilots did not want to go to the infantry and to sign up when the Lafayette Escadrille had started, except the ones that had already been in the infantry. If there was a provision in the contract that if they washed out of fighter pilot training, they would not be transferred to an infantry unit. Now, that does not mean they're cowards. That's what I'm going to talk about. Yes, like it shows in the movie Flyboys, they basically were in a mansion and not conventional military barracks. Only William Thaw had the regulation uniform. All the rest of them modified their uniforms to try to look cool. Now, that did go on. Most of them were from wealthy philanthropist homes, very privileged trust funds, but some were already in the infantry before Lafayette Escadrille was formed. And they wanted to volunteer to fight for France because they felt like America owed a debt to France because France helped America in the American Revolution and largely helped America win the American Revolution. They named the squadron Lafayette Escadrille after Marquis Lafayette. And they chose the symbol for a Native American warrior, not to be offensive or anything, but it was to symbolize a warrior's bravery. And there is no evidence that any of these men ever tried to get out of combat. They actually volunteered for air-to-air combat. They volunteered to go in the most dangerous places and put their lives at risk for their brothers in arms. And Eugene Jacques Ballard said this is the only time he was around a bunch of Caucasian Americans abroad or within the United States where he did not receive any discrimination. And during his time in Lafayette Escadrille, he did not receive discrimination. Actually, after the war, World War I, when he opened a bar and a nightclub in Paris, he named his nightclub Escadrille after Lafayette Escadrille. He named it, I think, Lafayette Escadrille. So these men deserve to be remembered. They're largely unknown. The movie Flyboys was made in 2006 to commemorate them, and I think it's a really, really good movie. Has good audience reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, but for some reason, when the movie came out to movie theaters, the movie was a box office bomb. But I recommend that people check it out. It's either on Paramount Plus or on Tubi TV. So, yeah, Kiffin Yates Rockwell was wounded fighting for the French Foreign Legion in the infantry, and when he joined the Lafayette Escadrille, he had shot down, I believe he had shot down a few German planes, but he was also shot down and killed by a German plane. So he was he was wounded on the ground and then killed in the air. Victor Chapman was another wealthy son of wealthy parents, but Victor Chapman had died in World War I as well. Flying for the Lafayette Escadrille. So, hope everybody's doing well. Take care. God bless. Bye. Bye-bye.